Thank you so much for having me. It's an incredible honor to be here and to be acknowledged for my work and to be a part of this community. It's been an honor to have joined all of you on the streets, fighting against Israeli war crimes, fighting against AIPAC, and fighting for the liberation of the Palestinian people. And being in Palestine was such an incredible, unforgettable experience. Everyone was so gracious, open, welcoming. I mean, we visited dozens of villages, homes, and I've never eaten better food or met nicer people. You know, it's strange to be one of the few journalists who pays attention and covers this issue in depth, because it should be an issue at the forefront of every journalist's mind. It should be at the center of global politics right now. But really, when this issue is covered, it's either a complete absence of reporting or completely distorted, right? Because of course, Israel not only has an arsenal of weapons to use against Palestinians, it also has a weapon of propaganda, an apparatus that uses itself to paint Israel as the victim. And this is a multi-million-dollar industry that, you know, every medium of media is used, really. You know, on both RT and Telesur, I made a point to cover Palestine as much as I could, more than any other journalist on television. But really, it goes even further than that. I wanted to share a story about what happened when I was at RT that made me realize that this situation could actually get you killed for speaking the truth. I was hosting Breaking the Set in 2012 during Operation Pillar of Defense in Gaza, and I was covering the atrocities on a daily basis and was targeted and smeared by multiple Israeli publications, one of them algemeiner.com, and others. The same week that I was covering this, the Al-Sharok Journalist Tower in Gaza City was bombed ruthlessly. There were several journalists who were housed in the building. 8 journalists were injured. 1 journalist had his leg blown off. You know, when RT demanded an answer, and RT was housed in this tower, by the way, and they wrote the Israeli ambassador and they said, what happened? How was this tower bombed? And this is what they said. They said, your network has taken a side in the coverage. And they didn't only say that, they said, we knew there were journalists in the building. An IDF spokeswoman, Avita Lebovich, said, we obviously knew they were in the building, so we did not attack the other floors. But my advice to journalists visiting Gaza is stay away from any Hamas position. So journalists are a target for Israel. You know, I can't think of any other country that really calls itself a democracy and can target and actually execute journalists without any accountability from the international community. It's quite amazing. That's when I knew that this was a really, really serious issue, that Israel would target you for simply speaking out. Israel even tries to erase the work and legacy of Palestinian journalists. I don't know if any of you know what the Newseum is. It's kind of the premier established museum in DC that honors journalism, that talks about the history of the press in this country. And they have a memoriam of fallen journalists and conflicts. And they were going to honor 2 Al-Aqsa journalists. And Israel actually pressured the museum to retroactively remove their names from the memorial. That's how far this government will go. The occupation will go to even remove the legacy after they're dead. It will truly stop at nothing to maintain the narrative. When I moved on to Telesur, a part of it was because I wanted to go to Palestine. I felt like I couldn't, you know, be in the studio without understanding the issues that I was covering, seeing the occupation firsthand. And so I started working for Telesur. It's a conglomerate of progressive Latin American countries started by Chavez and Castro. And I'm proud to work at this network, not because their whole philosophy is internationalism, and not just in words, but deeds. I don't know if you guys remember back in 2009, Chavez actually kicked out the Israeli ambassador out of Venezuela. And he rightly called the Israeli army cowards in response to the massacre that was going on. Since 2015, I've been hosting and directing a show called The Empire Files on Telesur. And it's a weekly documentary and interview series chronicling war and inequality through the lens of US empire. And, you know, while this show covers different topics every week, we have focused more on Palestine than any other issue. Because, you know, partly to make up for the lack of coverage from so many other people. And this year, or last year rather, we were really, really lucky to go to Palestine, visit Palestine. We spent a month in Ramallah and the refugee camps throughout the occupied West Bank, and it was the most incredible experience of my life. And when I was there, I realized why the Hasbara is so strong. Why the Israeli state and its American sponsors wage such a war on accurate reporting. Because what I witnessed was far beyond anything that I can comprehend about the occupation, about the brutality of the occupation. As many articles as I read, as many videos as I watched, nothing prepared me from the reality on the ground. I witnessed the devastating reality of home demolitions. Not only are these people too cowardly to go actually deliver them, they've put a paper under a rock. And that's if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, you'll have settlers just come and invade the home and take it over, emboldened by the state and protected by them as well. I learned how the vast majority of Palestinians can never visit one of the most holy sites in Islam, the Dome of the Rock. I was devastated to learn that so many Palestinians can never even go to Jerusalem. So many can never go to the beach just mere miles away. A young child I asked, what is your dream? She was 15 years old, and she said, I just want to go to the beach. I just want to go to the beach, 2 miles away from her home. I learned the truth about settlements. Being in a village that had this architecture of oppression, the settlers that come and live, they move right on top of your home, and you're constantly threatened. At any given time, you can be firebombed, you can be shot, you can be attacked. But they're protected. There's nothing anyone can do to protect themselves. The settlers are armed and you cannot have weapons. It's kind of comparable to the Jim Crow era in the South, where the Klan and police would work together to terrorize the black population. But the biggest difference in Palestine is that the people there have no feasible means in terms of armament to defend themselves, because weapons are illegal, obviously. And it's not just weapons. Political parties are banned. Political organizations are banned in the West Bank. Simply sharing photos of people who have died will get you in prison. The amount of likes and shares on a photo of a family member that has died will put you in prison for months. And it's also the sadistic targeting of protesters. First, there was the official top-down policy of breaking the bones of young children, and now it's shoot to cripple. We visited a young woman named Aya in Ramallah who was protesting the 2014 massacre in Gaza. Of course, there's, every year it seems like there's another massacre in Gaza, and she was protesting at the Calandia checkpoint, and she said that all of a sudden they just started opening fire on the crowd, that they shot 200 people, that she got shot in her groin. And instead of going to the hospital, she had to live with it because she was scared that if she put her name in the registry that she would be targeted and killed later on. The people around her, one man was just holding a Palestinian flag and he got shot in the heart and died. Another person next to her, peacefully protesting, was paralyzed after that day. If the American people knew what their tax dollars were going to, what they were paying for, they would never support this, which is why the suppression of journalists and media is so critical to the Israel colonial project. And that's why I'm so committed to reporting this reality. But what was most amazing and encouraging to me being there was the resilience of Palestinians. I wanted to tell you about a town called Sebastia. It's this amazing archaeological site. And that's where I learned that putting up a Palestinian flag is illegal and could get you killed. There was this hilltop there. It was the most gorgeous scene. And every day, Palestinians will go and erect a flag on the hilltop. Well, the day that we got there, the two people who had put it up that day got shot. Israeli soldiers were hiding in the bushes and shot them. They almost died to put up that symbol. And right after they got shot, the next day someone else put up a flag again. And that really tells you everything you need to know about the sheer resilience that these people didn't care if they got shot, if they died, if they went to jail. They knew that that symbol had to be raised because it shows so much about their resilience. And we also tried to get into Gaza, and we were also banned. The official response from Ron Paz, Netanyahu's press spokesperson, the head of the Israeli press office, said that we were agents of Iran. oddly enough. That's odd. I thought I was an agent of Russia and an agent of Venezuela and Ecuador. Hard to keep track. But their rationale for not letting me in to see one of the worst humanitarian disasters on the planet was because they said I wasn't a journalist. I was a propagandist. And I had taken a side in the conflict. Really, really incredible. So what I learned from being on the ground is this so-called objective coverage of Palestine is a myth. We're told it's the most complicated conflict in the world, right? These people have been fighting over there for thousands of years. Really, it's the most simple conflict in the world. It's a classic case of occupier and occupied, oppressed and oppressor, colonized and colonizer. The sentiment on the ground is changing. People are becoming way more sympathetic to this cause. People are waking up, and that's why the Israeli government and its cohorts are terrified of this reality reaching the masses. That's why we need journalists who aren't afraid to say that the Israeli colonial project, from its first settlement in Palestinian land until today, is a crime against humanity. We need journalists who aren't afraid to say that however the Palestinian people resist their occupiers, that it's their right to resist the occupation. We need journalists who aren't afraid to say that there are not just two sides, but that one side is right and one side is wrong. One side wants freedom and the other side denies that freedom. And that's why I've taken my side, because I want to stand on the right side of history. And that's why I'll keep reporting this reality until Palestine is free.